Okay, it is 3:30 and that means it's time for us to get started. Really quickly, I just wanted to say hello. I'm Mary Claire Kraft. I work in career services along with my amazing colleague Satoko Odagawa, who's going to be our main presenter today, and Victoria Suarez, who is on the career fair management team, who will be pitching in to help answer all of your questions. So once again, we do not have webcams or microphones utilized for this session. However, we want to hear from you via the chat and via the Zoom question and answer. Please type in your questions as you think of them. We'll do our very best to get to as many as possible, all while showing you the really cool technology that we're going to be using for virtual fairs this fall. So without further ado, I am going to kick it over to Satoko for the presentation, and thank you all for joining. Okay. Oh, and before I stop, I forgot we have an amazing employer partner here. Lynn, your picture wasn't there.
That's okay.
Lynn Rowell, who will be helping Satoko by explaining sort of the employer point of view for how they participate in fairs. Take it away.
All right. Welcome, everybody, Mason students and alumni. Today we are here for the final workshop of our JumpStart 2020 series. We are here today to learn about how to prepare best for the fall career fairs. We have 3 exciting career fairs virtually coming up this fall semester. As we navigate through this pandemic, employers are still hiring for internships and jobs. So we are going to have 3 amazing opportunities to engage with employers who are recruiting and excited to recruit Mason students and recent alumni. So here we go. My name is Satoko. Again, I'm one of the industry advisors at University Career Services, and I am pleased to be the presenter for the last workshop of JumpStart 2020, preparing for the fall virtual fairs. Now, so we have 3 amazing opportunities, virtual job fairs coming up this fall. But as many of you probably already know, our first stop out of all the virtual fairs is our next week part-time job fair. So next Wednesday on August 26th from noon to 3, we have, as part of our Welcome to Mason Week, we have an exciting part-time job fair coming up. And I hope many of you have already registered for the part-time job fair. It includes several on-campus part-time jobs as well as many other off-campus part-time job opportunities. Registration is already open and 49 employers have already signed up for the part-time job fair next week. The deadline to register directly on Jobs Connected platform is next Monday, August 24th at midnight, meaning the very end of Monday. So 11:59 p.m. on August 24th. So please do not wait to register for our part-time job fair. Remember that if you do not register in advance for any of our virtual fairs, you will not be able to attend at all on the day of. So this is very different from many of you who have joined our big career fairs or smaller career nights, any of our job fairs that we have done in the past in person. You can just drop in. You're welcome to check out employers. You're welcome to check out Handshake beforehand. However, it was not a requirement to register. This time, any of our virtual fairs, and we are all going to be using Jobs Connected platform through all of the fall semester. But it is a requirement for all students and alumni to pre-register, and it is clear in Handshake on our fair page when the deadline to register is for each of the different fairs. So I hope many of you who joined us today, or all of you, have already registered for the part-time job fair next week. But if you haven't yet, don't wait, because over this weekend, it's first come, first served for registration, and it will close at the end of Monday. Now, other than this exciting part-time job fair that's taking place next week, just to let you guys know in advance, you can already see information in Handshake under fairs, our fall big career fair information as well. That is going to take place on October 8th and October 9th. It's a Thursday and a Friday. And just to follow our tradition of our in-person fairs, October 8th, the first day, is going to be our STEM fair for those students looking for internships and jobs in the STEM industries. And our second day is going to be our non-STEM fair. So businesses, nonprofits, education, healthcare. Healthcare is the first day because it's science included. But any of the non-STEM fields will be on the second day on October 9th. And lastly, just to kind of not to get ahead of ourselves, but we do have career night, our nighttime career fair, also scheduled at the end of October on October 28th from 4 to 7 p.m. And all that information you can already view in Handshake. Registration has not started yet for any fairs past our part-time job fair. However, you can already view information in Handshake. Okay, so if you don't remember anything else from today's presentation that we are here today, one thing you need to remember is that, again, registration is mandatory. If you do not register for these virtual fairs, each individually, for each individual fair by the deadline, you will not be able to join on the day of the virtual fair. Remember that just because you registered, hopefully already, for the part-time job fair does not register you for any of the other fairs. You must register individually for each of the fairs each time. So the registration is done directly on the Jobs Connected platform, not through Handshake. So you can view fair information in Handshake. However, the registration is directly on Jobs Connected. However, how to get on the Jobs Connected site, you can view that in Handshake event as well. However, I have already put the link here. If you want to write it down or take a screenshot or anything like that, this is one link that's very important. For all of the fall fairs for this fall, all the virtual fairs, you must register at www.jobsconnected.com/GMU. So pretty easy to remember, hopefully, because it's going to be the same address for each of the fairs. You must register using your Mason Live Mason email. So as students and alumni, you guys all have Mason Live email addresses. Please make sure to use Mason email to register, not your Gmail, not your Outlook. It is important that you associate yourself with Mason. So please use Mason Live email. However, you must create a new password, a non-Mason password when you register for Jobs Connected. So since Jobs Connected platform is not directly Mason site or anything like that. They want you to use Mason email. However, create your own password. Use your favorite password, create a new one, just not your Mason password. It takes less than 2 minutes to register on Jobs Connected. So just make sure that you guys pay attention to the registration deadline. Okay, so before I get too deep into the conversation of the platform, Mary Claire, can we do a poll or two actually?
Of course, Satoko, let's do that.
Let's do that. All right. So you guys, we would love to know who we have in the audience today. If you guys can quickly answer, how many times have you guys been to a virtual job fair?
And the answers are coming in.
All right.
So far, a little over half of you have voted. We'll keep this open a little bit longer, so hopefully we can get 100%.
Yep.
And again, this will just help Satoko and the team really understand what type of advice would be best to provide today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're just about 100%. I'm going to end it and share the results.
Awesome. Wow. So, okay. So most of you, almost 70% of the attendees today have never been to a virtual job fair before, which is exciting because that's why we are here to, tell you guys about virtual job fair and that's why you guys are here today, how to best prepare for the virtual job fair, where 70% of you have never been to one. And Lynn, from our employer partner from Fulton Bank, who has been to several job fairs herself and very very excited to share her employer side of tips, how you guys can impress employers and network efficiently and effectively at a job fair. So this is exciting. All right, well, thank you, Mary Claire. And maybe you have one more question to ask students today.
I do. Let's pull up the next one.
Sure.
Okay, this question is asking, what do you hope to learn during today's session? So we want to make sure that we're really spending the most amount of time teaching what you really came to learn. So even more so than the first poll, this one could directly impact how we spend the rest of the time. Definitely. Making sure you're prepared for this experience. So we're going to wait a little longer. We have about 80% of the vote in. And so far we have two categories that are pretty closely tied. Just want to give it maybe a couple more seconds. Oh my gosh, we're so close to 100%. Okay, we're going to call it.
Satoko. All right, so the winner is what to expect at virtual fairs. However, that was very, very closely tied with how best to talk to employers. So this is great for me to know because this shows that only 3% of you are here today to actually learn like how to register, maybe the technology side of how to register for virtual fair. Most of you are really wanting to know what to expect on the day of the fair, and also how best to talk to employers, which Lynn would definitely be able to advise you guys on today. So this is really great to know. All right, so I will definitely make sure to focus more on the, what to expect on the day of. So thank you everybody for answering our poll questions. This has been really helpful. Thanks, Mary Claire, and I will go on with my presentation. All right, so I won't spend too much time about the tech side of how to register for the fair. I will just quickly go through this and then go on to the day of the fair, and then we have our exciting opportunity that Lynn from Fulton Bank will tell you guys, and I have lots of advice for you guys, what to expect on the day of and how to connect with employers effectively. So as I said, once you guys register, this is what you would see. You will be able to get into the Jobs Connected site. Let's see. Yeah. So now, yesterday was the first day that any of you who register for our part-time fair next week, you guys already have access to employer pages within Jobs Connected since yesterday. So this is what it looks like. This is just a sample of a snapshot of what it may look like. And starting from yesterday, those of you who registered for the part-time job fair can access employer pages to ask questions and leave questions for the employer as well. All right, so this is just an example. In the past, on Jobs Connected, Honda has attended the fair. So as you can see, there are two blue bubbles when you go directly to the employer's page in Jobs Connected. Let's see. You can view each employer's job and internship opportunities. You can view company literature, so basically a blurb about the company. You can view videos of them if the employer has uploaded videos onto their employer page in Jobs Connected. And there is a link to resume Dropbox. So let me talk to you guys a little bit more about that. So the resume Dropbox is an important part of our virtual fair. You can access that through the employer's page in Handshake directly under that employer attending the fair, as well as you can access it through the employer page in Jobs Connected for those of you who have already registered and have access to that. So the resume Dropbox is advertised on Jobs Connected. However, the actual resume submission must be done in Handshake. So once you look at the list of employers that are coming to the virtual fair, the one that you register for, make sure that either through Jobs Connected or directly search for the employer's name in Handshake. And along with internships and job opportunities that they have open right now, in Handshake, under the employer's page, you will see a box that says resume drop box. That's where you can go ahead and drop off your resume for that employer. You are welcome to do that already now for the part-time job fair, and you can do that during the event. So any of our virtual job fairs this fall, as you are looking around and walking around, virtually walking around the virtual job fair, feel free to drop off resumes at these employers' resume drop box. And you can still do that immediately after the fair has ended as well. So if you don't get to do that beforehand or during, you are too busy talking to employers at the job fair, virtual job fair, feel free to do that right after the fair has ended as well, because the employer will go in about 2 days after. Usually the resume drop boxes are open about 2 days after the fair. For example, for the part-time job fair, which takes place next Wednesday, resume drop boxes are open until Friday. So 2 days after, like the very end of 11:55 p.m. on Friday. So just make sure that you do that. So we do not share contact info of you guys, students and alumni, automatically who register for the fair to the employers you're interested in. So if employer is interested in you, the only way they can know is for you to submit resume in the resume drop box, or on the day of interact in each employer booth with the employer. However, if you're verbally speaking to the employer at the booth, it's hard for the employer to just memorize your name or anything like that. So it's a good idea to submit your resume, you know, and or cover letter, any of those documents, and just, you know, mention that, you know, you spoke to the employer at the fair. All right, job and internship opportunities are advertised on Jobs Connected site under the employer pages. However, you still must apply to those jobs and internships in Handshake. So at Career Services, we are saying Handshake, Handshake every day because that is our central recruiting site, and where students and alumni and employers can connect is our Handshake site. All right, so like I said, beginning August 19th, which was yesterday, you are able to already visit employer pages in Jobs Connected, particularly this time for the part-time job fair, since it's coming up next Wednesday. As you can see, under each employer page, there's a Q&A Ask Here blue box. Already, as of yesterday, you can leave questions for that particular employer by clicking this Q&A, and the employer will see your questions, and you are able to interact that way prior to the fair. Okay, so many of you, that was prior to the fair. Most of you are interested in what happens actually on the day of the fair. So I would like to go over this a little bit. And like I said, Lynn Rowell from Fulton Bank has excellent tips from the employer's side of view as well. So, so on the day of the fair, talking verbally and through the chat function, talking to employer goes live on that day of the fair. So you guys are registered. So on the day of, you log back into Jobs Connected, and you will start, you can see all the employer booths open on that day of. On the very top, you will see Career Service Resource Room booth. That is not a requirement for you guys to first enter that before you talk to the employer. I think in our virtual job fair that we held in June using the same platform, Jobs Connected, some students were confused that you must first check in at the Career Services table or the resource room on the Jobs Connected site in order to go talk to the employers. That is not the case. Come to Career Services room only if you have questions to the Career Services staff, like myself, Mary Claire, and Victoria, and many others in our office. However, you are welcome to straight jump through us and go talk to the employers yourself. On the day of, you see Talk to the Employer blue bubble on the left side. So that is where you click to enter the employer booth, and so that you can interact with that particular employer. this is the actual inside of the employer booth. So if you enable your video and microphone on the top, it's a little bit small, but as you can see in the little green icon here, this is what it might look like. So you, the student and employer, are speaking to each other. So you have the option of turning your camera on and microphone on and verbally engaging with the employer inside the employer booth virtually, or you may opt to use the chat function on the left. So there is a chat button at the top, as you can see here. So you are welcome to interact with the employer through the chat function as well. Let me see, click. Yep, so that is the chat box on the left. Just remember that whether it's you're on camera with your microphone on or you are utilizing the chat box, anything you do and say is visible to the employer as well as any other attendees that is in that employer's booth at the same time. So just remember that everything you say or type is visible to everybody else. Yep, and this is also what it might look like. And as you can see, the microphone icon and the camera icon is right on the top. If you click on attendees, you can see who else is in the room with you. Okay, so yeah, and then one thing I meant to mention a little bit earlier is that when you register for each of the job fair, virtual job fair in Jobs Connected, I talked to you guys about using your Mason email and creating a new password. You use your full name to register so that that is recorded in Jobs Connected. On the day of when you enter the fair, you are able to create a name tag for the day. So if you do not wish to utilize your family name or last name and just use your first name or first name and your last name initial, that is fine. You are able to create a name tag for that day. I do really recommend that you use your name that is the same name on your resume though, because you know, the purpose of attending the virtual job fair is to talk to employers, network with employers, and hopefully to get a job or internship. So if you're just using, like in my case for Satoko Odagawa, it would be SO, you know, that's not very memorable. You know, the employer would not really know who SO is and wouldn't really connect myself with my resume. So it is to your advantage to actually at least use your first name. All right. So again, the platform that we are using is Jobs Connected. The major differences from, you know, attending an in-person fair or maybe some other platforms is that group communication is allowed, and so you are able to see who else is in the room with you talking to the same employer. Like I said, remember everything you do or say or type is visible to all. So visible to the recruiters, visible to any employer reps that's in the booth, as well as other attendees who's in the same room as you. Okay, so, and like I said, name tags is the on-screen name that you wish to use for the day. So, and this is just kind of a fair etiquette, virtual job fair etiquette. Very similar to in-person fair, but it is important to just keep some etiquette in mind for virtual fairs. So the importance of taking turns. If there are several attendees in the room, don't dominate the conversation and just take 30 minutes, you know, to dominate that employer speaking with you for 30 minutes. If you see that there's a wait line, there are some other students. I know that sometimes you feel like maybe they're rivals because, you know, you both want to work for the same company. It also does not look great for the employer because the employer wants to meet everybody, right? Like employer is there to meet as many Mason students and alumni as possible. So if you are dominating the conversation and not letting the employer go off the conversation, that will give not a very positive image to the employer. So just keep in mind to take turns speaking or chatting with that employer representative. It is a good idea to set your view to a grid view so that you are able to see everybody else who is in the room. So that will give you a good idea of how many others are in the room waiting to speak with the employer and everything. You know, the employer will almost always have a full name in the employer booth so that you guys know the representative's name. So it is a good idea to address the recruiter by name, especially for busy booth, popular employers, especially if you use the microphone function and speak, unless you say their name, you know, your voice might kind of get muddled and they might not know that you're wanting to speak with them. Yep, and then the beautiful thing about virtual fair is that just like today, you guys see my shoulder and up. So it's completely okay to have a cheat sheet or notes or anything like that to bring on the day of the virtual fair. It is totally okay to look at your notes, take notes, you know, because technically it's not even a requirement to turn your camera on. Although since you're wanting the job or internship, I think this will be a great networking opportunity for the employer to put face to a name. So for that purpose, video is recommended. However, it is not required. All right, so before I turn to Lynn, our wonderful employer partner, if you guys have more questions about specifically the platform, Jobs Connected platform to prepare for before or during the job fair, we do have tutorial videos that Jobs Connected has sent us. And everybody who has registered for today's workshop, who are here today, if you had already registered a handshake for today's this workshop, we can go ahead and email you those tutorial videos as well as this slide deck. So I hope many of you have registered for today's event. And last, one important thing, although there are several browsers that would work for Jobs Connected, absolutely the recommended browser is Google Chrome. There has been some issues in the past, and Jobs Connected has specifically recommended all of us to use Chrome for Jobs Connected. So if you don't use Google Chrome yet, make sure you get Google Chrome and make sure you use that so that you can have the best experience on the day of the virtual fair. Okay. Okay, so quickly, and I know that Lynn would probably go over these as well, so I won't go too much in depth, but these are just a must check-off points for the day of the fair. Quiet location without too much distractions. So if you're living with family or roommates, let them know that this is a very important day for you. This could be your day to possibly get a job or get an internship. So, you know, make sure that you are in a private space without other distractions. You know, make sure that you look semi-professional at the least. That, you know, there's not a lot of decorations, a lot of distraction in the background if you are using a camera. And then don't have too many other things open or streaming on your computer at the same time, because that can affect the quality of your video or sound. Make sure that you check your technology, laptop, your webcam, desktop, and then access handshake and LinkedIn profile and your resumes beforehand to make sure that those are top-notch and prepped. And if you have several passwords for LinkedIn, Handshake, and Jobs Connected, make sure that you note those before the day of. In terms of preparing your documents, remember that Career Services can help you prepare for any of these virtual job fairs for the fall. We do have daily drop-ins every day from 1 to 3 p.m. We have recently changed our drop-in hours from lunchtime to the afternoon. So please note our new drop-in time, 1 to 3 p.m. You are welcome to call Career Services phone number here and choose option 2 to ask questions, or email our front desk at careers@gmu.edu. During our drop-in hours, you can email careers@gmu.edu and email your resume and cover letter with a sample position description or a real position description you're applying to, and we can review those documents during drop-in hours virtually now through email. And then if you search for resume drops on Handshake, you can see all the resume drop boxes for the employers register for the virtual fairs. So make sure that you keep track, maybe an Excel document for yourself or a Word doc for yourself. Keep track of which employers you submitted your resume to for the virtual fairs utilizing the resume drop box. And lastly, make sure that your Handshake and LinkedIn profiles are up to date, because employers do look at your Handshake and LinkedIn profiles. If they like you at the fair, if they talk to you at the fair, and if they see that you dropped off your resume at in the resume Dropbox, they will go in and take a look at, it's likely chance that they will take a look at your Handshake and LinkedIn account to learn further about you. So make sure that those things are updated before the fair. Okay, and if you have any other career fair preparation questions or tips, this is a screenshot of our website, careers.gmu.edu. Click on Students tab at the top on the purple bar, and then look to your left, click on Prepare for the Fair. So this will take you to this site, and you can see all these useful information, how to prep for virtual fairs. Okay, so yeah, and here's the website. Like I said, students, under students, career fair prep. All right, so here we are about 30 minutes in. I would like to introduce again Lynn Rowell from Fulton Bank. She is the Senior VP and Senior Talent Acquisition Advisor. She's here to speak to you guys about employer side-up tips and tricks for the virtual career fair. So Lynn, take it away, Lynn.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Satoko. And just as a side note, I am going to keep the camera off for now, but I will go back on camera when we get to the question and answer section. I just want to make sure I'm able to kind of glance at my cheat sheet and cover everything that I plan to cover today. So as Satoko mentioned, my name is Lynn Rowell, and I work at Fulton Bank as a Senior Talent Acquisition Advisor. Proud to say that I actually celebrated my 20-year anniversary with the company just last Friday. So just real quick to let you know, Fulton is a full-service financial institution. We're headquartered in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, but we cover a 5-state footprint to include Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia. So I'm guessing quite a few folks on the call might be from those areas and maybe even have heard of Fulton before. I was fortunate last year to attend my first Mason Career Fair, and was very impressed. It was a great experience for me. We also did some virtual mock phone interviews as well, partnered with Mason on that, but we're really excited to continue building our partnership with Mason. And as part of that, I so appreciate this opportunity to speak with all of you today. And then in full transparency, I just want to say, I know in the survey, 69% of you responded that you had never participated in a virtual career fair. And quite honestly, they're new to most of us here at Fulton. Historically, we're used to the in-person, career fairs. And I would assume that many of the companies that you'll be speaking with at the career fairs, this might be somewhat new to them as well. So hopefully that makes you feel a little bit better that, a lot of us are going to be kind of on the same playing field as far as that goes. But today, what I thought I could do is just share a few tips and tricks from the employer side of things that we feel like would benefit all of us as we continue to navigate this newly virtual world that we found ourselves in this year. So basically, want to break things down into 3 steps. First, would be just your preparation, and a few of the items we might have already briefly covered, but just thinking about preparing for the career fair, I really think that's one of the key steps. Just researching the companies that are going to be there and kind of getting your list in mind of who you feel like you want to talk to, and those companies that you have identified, as being of interest. Take the time, not just to look in Handshake, because I will be honest that sometimes we don't put as much in there as maybe we should, because we also have our LinkedIn company pages and our career sites and things like that, but there will be information there, and likely information to link to those options. But take some time to just get a better understanding of what the company does, how it might be a fit for your career goals, and how you might be able to contribute to the overall mission of the company. And, again, the career site is a great place to look at number one, the different types of programs that the company might offer, but also to take a peek at some of the positions that they have posted, just to get an idea, you know, from a job description and experience requirement standpoint, what type of things they're looking for. And then know that don't get discouraged if you don't necessarily see something posted right now that's a fit. You know, for example, here at Fulton, some of our positions are more of a seasonal basis. So for example, our management trainee, those are typically posted in October and November of this fall. They would be posted for our summer of 2021 class. So they're not posted throughout the year, but we certainly do recruit heavily for those in those fall months. Same thing with like our summer tellers, the internships, you know, again, those are seasonal. So, you know, there may be other opportunities that might not be available at the moment. So don't get discouraged with that. And then be open-minded when you're exploring the opportunities. And I say this because my degree is actually in elementary education. So certainly didn't expect to be sitting here talking to you all today as a senior talent acquisition advisor at a bank. But, you know, I realized after about 6 years in teaching that that was not the long-term career for me. And I actually, you know, was able to start my HR career by moving into an administrative assistant position at the bank. And, you know, from that 20 years later, you know, I'm in the role that I'm in today. So definitely would encourage you to be open-minded. As Satoko said, you know, the resume, we definitely, you know, rely heavily on resumes. And so make sure that you have taken advantage of those resources that Mason offers through the Career Center. You know, be sure that you're spell checking and using proper grammar, and also the tenses, you know, as far as if you are currently at a job versus it's a job that you were previously in, make sure that your tenses match up. And then, you know, have someone else, have a third party, either the Career Center or a friend or family member, just take a second look, because sometimes I know I'm very guilty of this. I consider myself a pretty good proofreader, but I also sometimes tend to see what I want to see or what I think should be there. And another thing to consider with your resume would be that it might be appropriate to have a few different versions depending on the types of companies and positions, you know, that you are looking at. And I know you've heard this before, but, you know, if you can keep it to 1 page, great. 2 pages is certainly fine as well, especially as you get more work experience under your belt. We, you know, certainly expect to see resumes that are 2 pages in length, but I certainly would try to avoid anything above that, you know, as far as resumes go. And then back again to what Satoko mentioned about LinkedIn profiles. I can speak for Fulton in saying that we use LinkedIn quite a bit. We actually have our talent acquisition advisors have a LinkedIn recruiter licenses. And so we use LinkedIn for sourcing candidates all the time. So you really want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is updated. It includes a professional photo. It doesn't have to be professional in the fact that you went and got a professional headshot necessarily, but be careful of, you know, what you're showing in the background and that sort of thing. And then make sure that you're following the companies or the influencers or, you know, things that are a good match for what your desired career path is, because we also look at those things as well. And, you know, you can also open or update your LinkedIn profile to show that you're open to new opportunities. And there is a way to do it in a way that only recruiters can see it. So it doesn't show on your public profile, but recruiters that have that recruiter license are able to see that you're open to new opportunities. And then again, you know, same thing with Handshake. You do want to make sure that that is, you know, has got all of the information that you want to be able to convey to the employers as well, because they are going to be relying on that in addition to LinkedIn and your resume. And then next is just, you know, really preparing that elevator pitch. So thinking about what you would want this employer to know about you, you know, their first impression of you. If you literally were riding an elevator with them from the first floor to the 10th floor of a building, you know, that's not a whole lot of time. But, you know, you want to overview your field of study, your relevant experience, any skills or certifications, your career goals. And I did notice that Handshake has some really great tips on this. They actually have an article out on their site if you haven't had a chance to look at that on the elevator pitch. So I would definitely take some time to read through that. And then again, back to what I mentioned with the resume, you may want to tailor that elevator pitch somewhat depending on the company. So again, that's why it's so important to do that research in advance of the companies that you are planning to engage with. And dressing for success. So, in this virtual world, and, right now with the camera being off, and you can't see me, I could be in my pajamas for all you know, I'm not, but, just really keeping in mind that you want to present a professional appearance. And even if the recruiter's not going to see you on camera, I would definitely recommend dressing as if you were going to that in-person career fair. Dress for the job that you want to have. Again, if you do have video on, of course, be mindful of your background, avoid background noises, distractions. I have the door locked to the room that I'm in right now, just so a family member doesn't mistakenly come popping in. One of our culture concepts at Fulton too, that really sticks with me and is one that I have to work on every day, is to be here now. And so, it's so easy when you're on something like this and you're virtual, and let's say your camera is not on, or you're not in the conversation at the moment. It's so easy to start glancing over at your phone, checking Facebook, looking at emails, that sort of thing. You really want to be intentional and treat this career fair as if, you were in person. And again, another article on Handshake that I was able to find that had some great information on preparing for that virtual career fair. So definitely check that out. And I'll get with Victoria to get that information to her. And then during the career fair, just being engaged, making sure, you're thinking about that good first impression. Of course, be on time. Maintain good eye contact. That's sometimes hard in the virtual world. You're not sure where to look. And then smile. I mean, people can tell whether you're smiling even if they can't see you. So I do phone interviews all day, every day. And that's something you can really pick up on even over the phone, is whether someone is smiling or not. Just thinking about good posture, and having that elevator pitch ready. I would recommend even typing it out in advance, because if you're going to be using the chat feature and you want to be able to get that over to the employer pretty quickly, you can just copy and paste it into that chat feature. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is you may be talking to somebody besides a recruiter. I know at Fulton this year, we're really trying to engage our business lines as well, because this is a great opportunity with us not having to, I don't mean not having to be in person, but not being in person, where we can engage more people than we have in the past at these career fairs, and we can get some of our folks from the business line to participate as well. So just keep that in mind, that you might be talking to someone who may not have all the answers from a recruiting standpoint, but might have some really great insight from the business line standpoint. Make sure that you're balancing, again, this was mentioned earlier, so I won't stay on it long, but balance your listening with your talking. We're really looking for candidates to be authentic and genuine. A good interaction really feels like a good conversation. So, try to be actively engaged, but again, try to resist oversharing just because of the time constraints that we're going to be under. Be sure to take notes and ask questions. Might want to prepare your list of questions in advance, but know that those questions may be asked in the group chat. And so keep an eye on that so that you're not duplicating information that's already been answered. And then be sure to take notes as you're learning new information about the company or the positions that you're chatting with them about. Another thing I would recommend, and this is becoming kind of the way of the world, if remote working is something that you think you may have an interest in, ask about whether there are remote working opportunities at the company. A lot of companies have moved to that. I know Fulton has some positions, that have become fully remote. Not by all means, not all of our positions, but there are some certain areas where that is now an option. And then just wrapping up, being sure to thank the recruiter for their time, ask if there's any recommended next steps that you could take to continue your engagement with the company. So for example, at Fulton, we have something called our talent community, and that allows you to upload your resume into our recruiting system and then identify the business lines that are a match for your interest and your expertise. And then you'll receive a real-time email notification when positions are posted in those areas. And that's really a great benefit, because sometimes some of our positions are posted and are pulled fairly quickly because we get a solid candidate pool pretty quickly. So, and the other great thing about our talent community is we also use that for sourcing talent, similar to what we do in LinkedIn. And then finally, just thinking about after the virtual career fair, those companies that you really truly have an interest in, send a thank you email if you can, highlighting your key strengths and the value that you think you would bring to the company. And even something that you took away from the conversation, maybe that made you excited about that potential of joining that company and joining that team. I would also recommend sending a LinkedIn invite to the recruiters or to the individuals that you connect with. That helps us know that you truly are interested, and it also allows you to be kept up to date on what's going on at the company. And keeping up, part of that would involve keeping up with your LinkedIn newsfeed and logging into LinkedIn on a regular basis. So I encourage you to do that as well. And then if the recruiter does take the time to reach out to you, be sure to respond back to them. They may have some requested action items. For example, at Fulton, we're likely to reach out and invite you to sign up for the talent community. So just be sure to take action on those. And that's really, I think that covers pretty much everything that I wanted to share. I just, again, thank you all so much for allowing me to speak with you today. And I hope we can connect again at the October 9th Virtual Career Fair, because Fulton Bank will be participating in that.
Well, thank you so much, Lynn. That was really valuable advice from the, directly from the employer's point of view. So I'm sure that our students and alumni has really benefited hearing from you directly. And at the very end of this session, we will have a short Q&A session as well. So if you guys have any questions for myself or Lynn, please don't be shy and start typing them more in the Q&A box. I know that some of you have communicated with us and asked questions in the chat box, but keep them coming. I just have a little bit more to discuss about tips on what to do after the virtual career fair. Let's see, I will turn on my camera again to go back to, yes, okay. All right, so let's see. Actually, okay, so after the fair, oops, sorry, after the fair, now that you guys have completely, engaged with the employers, let me just find the right spot. Sorry about that. Okay. So after the virtual fair day, what are some of the things that you guys would want to do to kind of keep the momentum going? So after the fair, it is important to go back into handshake to that particular employer or employers that you guys have engaged with, that you really would love to have internship or jobs with, and apply for open positions. Submit your resume to Resume Dropbox. And make sure that you have done that either before, during the fair, or latest by about 2 days after the fair. Let's see, it is important also that we just discussed, and Lynn also discussed with us, that employers are using LinkedIn very heavily. So go ahead and connect with the employer that you've spoken with during the fair in LinkedIn. And you can send a message along with your invitation to connect. I think you guys all have heard that as an etiquette on LinkedIn, it is much more likely success rate if you send even a short personalized message to somebody you would like to connect with, instead of just a generic message to send invitation to. And I think it's a great idea for you guys to just briefly mention that, I was at the Mason, virtual fair on this day and spoke with you at your employer booth. Thank you so much for the information again. And, I would like to connect with you on LinkedIn. Networking is such an important part of job hunting and internship searching. So make sure that you guys are definitely focusing on that. And at this time of virtual world, many recruiters and employers in general are very open to virtually connecting with you. So and it's very important to, and I think there was a question already in the chat box from earlier, but it's definitely important to follow up and send a thank you email, a thank you message to the employer that you've engaged with during the fair. It's one way that you can really stand out from the other 20 students, let's say, that was at the virtual employer booth at the same time, because the recruiter is just talking to so many students at the same time during the fair. So just that little thank you email follow-up the next day or that evening will really make a difference and a positive image to the employer. So Okay. Just a few final thoughts on the day of the virtual fair. Sometimes the employer has some kind of technical difficulty or emergency on their part that they might be running a few minutes late. And although you had one employer that you're really looking forward to speaking to, you don't see the employer in the booth. If there's a cancellation officially for the day of the fair, we will communicate that officially with all the attendees. And we will post that on the Jobs Connected site that you guys can see. However, if there's no official notice, that just assume that employer might be running a little bit late. So just go talk to other employers on the site and come back to that, one employer that you were really hoping to engage with. And in the same note, there's so many. So for the part-time job fair next week, there will be 49 different employers and 49 booths. It is impossible for that duration of the fair, whichever fall fair it would be, to visit all the employers. So make sure that you guys have a priority list for all the employers, who to visit, what is your priority. And some employers are more crowded than others. So just make sure that you focus on those priority ones so you don't miss that at the end of the day. Like I said before, a good thing about virtual fairs is that, you can be taking notes, typing things at the same time, but that's totally acceptable. And it's not obvious that you guys are doing that. So take notes, bring notes with you. It might even be a good idea to have an open Word document or Excel document on your computer and be creating a list of employers that you've spoken with and take notes on what you spoke with them so that you can use that for the follow-up with those employers. Okay, and then during the fairs, if you have any tech issues on the day of, there is a Jobs Connected support icon on the Jobs Connected site that you guys can click on to get tech support on the day of the fair. You can also email support@jobsconnected.com support@jobsconnected.com and get some answers before or during the fair as well. Questions specific to career fair and career services, don't forget to visit the career services table or the career services resource room, which will appear on the Jobs Connected site as well. As career services staff will be staffing the fair through the entire time to answer your questions about career readiness, resume, all that kind of stuff. So we will be there throughout the whole fair as well. These are available resources for you guys to think about now. Like I said before, and there was a snapshot earlier from our website, you guys can click on students and then prepare for the fair and take a look at career fair preparation resources. Many of you have seen our career readiness guide online on careers.gmu.edu. That has a lot of resume samples as well as how to network with employers. Like I said, utilize our drop-ins virtually to get your resume checked before the career fair by emailing careers@gmu.edu. Make sure you tour the Jobs Connected platform after you register before the day of the fair to familiarize yourself with the Jobs Connected platform. And then lastly, as always, visit Handshake and you can make an appointment with your career counselor or industry advisor utilizing Handshake. So, Victoria, Mary Claire, do we have any unanswered questions that, me, myself, or Lynn could answer, or any of you guys can answer for students at this point?
Hi, Satoko. Yes, we did get a couple of questions that came in, so I'm going to try to answer those for everybody right now.
Great.
Okay, perfect. So the first question that I received was when a student has notes, and the student obviously is preparing themselves ahead of time, and they want to kind of review the notes in the moment that they're speaking with the employer, how can they do that in a way that would still be respectful and wouldn't appear as rude? So I just wanted to kind of answer that question since I'm already the one talking,
Yeah.
But because what we're thinking is that you can have a Word document on your screen right? So I'm looking at my camera now. You don't know if I'm reading. You don't know if what I'm saying is just off the top of my mind. So you are able to have a Word document on the screen, and that's how you can look at your notes, reference your notes. I'm not sure you're going to read it verbatim, right? Because it's going to make you sound too rehearsed. But if you have it on screen, you can at least jog your memory about what it is that you want to say. So hopefully that's a strategy that would work for you.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, so that's definitely something that I think people worry about, but you want to have a copy of your resume in front of you on screen so that you can remember all the things that you've done, all the experiences that you have. So you want to make sure you have that Word document there for you. There was a question about how to find the resume Dropbox. Once again, I did type that into the chat, but you log into Handshake and then you go to the jobs area. At the top it says jobs. Click on that and then just search for Dropbox, and you will see those begin to populate. I just checked during the presentation, and there are several of them, several employer Dropboxes that are waiting for you to submit right now.
Awesome.
Also, maybe I'll let Satoko answer this question. One of the students is asking, how can you find out information about the 49 employers that are available? Where can you find all that information? So I'll let Satoko go over that.
Okay, well, so on the FAIR site, when you guys look at the FAIR information in Handshake, yes, so in your Handshake, you can go to fairs or you can go to, events, and you can find our individual fairs already within Handshake. So for example, for the part-time job fair, the registration for employers has closed, and we are officially having 49 employers at the part-time job fair next Wednesday. So when you go to the part-time job fair page in Handshake, you can view all the employers that the 49 employers that has registered and are coming next Wednesday to our virtual part-time job fair. You can view a list of employers there, and you can follow that link to the employers page directly. Also, or search in the employers, type the name of the employer, and if the employer has set up a resume Dropbox, that will be under each employer's page in Handshake as well. So that's how you can view the 49 employers for next week. Any other thing, Victoria, you would add to that?
Yes, so again, you want to either go to Jobs Connected, right? So all the information right now is in Jobs Connected, so that's available to see, and then Handshake as well. So that's how you get that information.
Yeah.
Let's see some other questions. So about doing research in advance, I guess, Lynn, if you don't mind answering, if a student wanted to know all about, for example, Fulton Bank, what are all the various ways that they'd be able to go about doing the research ahead of the event? What do you think would be a way that they'd find out about you and your company and everything that you have out there?
Yes, I think that's a great question. So the first stop I would say to make would be the company website. There's a lot of information out on company websites typically. So for example, with Fulton Bank, under our career site, we talk about all of our various programs, and our job postings are there, and there's just a lot of information. But another great place to look is on the LinkedIn company page. So if you were going to the Fulton Bank company page, there is an About Us section, and there are various tabs on that to tell about life at Fulton and the various business lines and things like that we have. So those would be my top two. Certainly other social media avenues as well. I mean, we're now on Instagram and Twitter, so we've got some news feeds and things that go out from that. But I'd say for the actual company information, I would rely on the company website and the LinkedIn About Us page.
Okay, great. And so I guess the answer is just like we find out about candidates, they find out about you. So social media and the internet is our go-to for everything at this point. Somebody's asking about jobs on Handshake. How do you find out what the employers are hiring for? And it's what Lynn said. If the jobs are either on Handshake, because the employer put those in for us, or they're on their website. So these are two different areas. LinkedIn could also be a way to find out about the jobs that are available for the employers at the fair. I think we only have time for one more question, but I'll let it be this one. How can we create a resume? If you don't have a resume yet and you want to have that ready for next week's fair, what's the best way to get a resume together over the next week? Satoko or Lynn, I'll let either one of you answer that. Because we have a couple days left to do that.
Right. Yeah. So part-time job fair is next Wednesday. So we do have a lot of resources on Career Services website. So Career Readiness Guide that I discussed, which is under the Career Resources tab on our Career Services website. So go to careers.gmu.edu, click on Career Resources at the top purple bar, and on the left you will see a blue bubble that says Career Readiness Guide PDF. So that has great resume sample for you guys to take a look at to try to take information from there, like a template from there. If for your specific industry, let's say you're a tech student or education student, let's say under the students tab, again, go to the top bar, purple bar, click on students on our website and click on industry specific resources. Then the industry of your interest will come up. So let's say for education student, click on education, and each industry specific page on our website has a resume sample on the left bottom. It'll have an industry specific resume sample that you can model after as well. And then don't forget, tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday, we still have virtual drop-in hours. Yeah, emailing your resume after that to careers@gmu.edu, you will be able to receive a revised resume with revision ideas. Lynn, do you have anything to add to that question?
I just want to add how fortunate you all are to have all of those resources. That's really, really great. You know, certainly you can do an internet search and find all kinds of things on resumes, but to actually have, you know, the resources at the career fair, take advantage of it for sure.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And Mary Claire, I think that's this is all the time we have for our questions today, but thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we can't thank you enough. Thank you so much, Lynn, for your time. And thank you, Satoko, for teaching us so much about the fall fairs. If you have any questions, please email careers@gmu.edu, and we look forward to seeing you at the fair coming up soon. What date is the fair, Victoria?
I think it's on the 26th, next Wednesday.
And when do you have to be registered by for real?
11:55 p.m. on the 24th. No exceptions.
No exceptions. Okay. Thank you guys for coming. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn and everybody.